In 1991, I was 11 years old. Life was bleak. Every day I think I woke up to feel a sadness. Nowadays they would call it depression, but then I just felt alone and sad. I even grew my hair long so that people wouldn't see how sad I looked. There was something that did make me feel good, and that was the Ore Mountains. I could watch the mountains hour after hour and imagine what would it be like to be on top? What would it be like to keep walking? What would I see? Were there mountain beings there? Were there forest beings? They were always speaking to me, telling me about somewhere else, that I could go somewhere else. I just had to keep looking. The sky and the clouds spoke to me, saying, yes, come to us. There's a place for you. And they never changed. They were always there in winter or in the fall or in the summer or in the spring. They were my mountains, the Ore Mountains. And of course, in my home, it was a different story. Every day my father came home from the Manamas factory. The pipe factory owned him. He was always tired. Always just waiting to lay down, to escape. And my mother, I knew she wasn't happy. I knew my mother was doing everything she could to be a good mom. She would cook, and I think she would take even longer times to cook and to prepare the vegetables just to give her something to focus on. My little sister Lily would read to her new recipes, anything, trying to help my mom feel happier, trying to bring a smile to her face. But nothing seemed to work. Life was drudgery, the same day after day, almost as though we were just waiting to be able to go to bed at night to sleep. And of course, my father drank. Everybody in the factory drank. That's how the men survived. I didn't know that then, but I understand now. The drink was how he could get a rest and forget. So it was bleak. But then, one night, a miracle. I had a dream, and there was another mountain, higher and further on the other side of the Ore Mountains. And in the dream, Lily and I were swinging, and in the dream, everything was different, and we were exploring, and there was this beautiful, great shape of glass. And the sun was shining through the glass, and it was like magic, and it made anything possible. And we were so happy. Lily would call to me, Petter, look. And we would see the strangest things. And then all of a sudden we saw ourselves walking up to a door and knocking. What was inside? We didn't know. And then it opened, and the light from the beautiful glass shined on this old man, and he was calling us in. Just like in all dreams, suddenly we're feeling stone faces, and other stone faces. And it was like, what's going on? And we were happy, and then all of a sudden Lily was running through the forest, happy. And I was happy to be seeing her happy, but it was so strange. Lily was sitting alone and I was watching her, and then suddenly the old man was beside her. And he offered her this strange object. He looked over at me and he called me. And that's what changed everything. I used to always just be doodling and drawing things, scaffolds, anything to let out my sadness and my depression. And then I thought, why don't I write stories? Why don't I write stories about the old man in the mountain? And then if I write these stories, it will give me a new life, and I could share them. And so I did. I wrote story after story, and then I would read them to Lily and to my mother. And in the stories, I could make anything happen. So I used the dream. I used the dream to give me ideas. And I knew that Lily always liked chickens. And so my first story had her visiting chickens that the old man owned. Except they weren't just any chickens. These chickens had the power to lay the strangest eggs. And so in my story, Lily went to collect the eggs for the old man. And when she opened the door to the hen house, there were not just eggs, but the chickens also could lay apples. Lily really liked that story. And other stories had her and the old man eating different fruits. And always I put different hats on the old man and different clothes because I wanted it to be always something new. And I wanted Lily to be happy because that's something I could do in these stories. And the glass, of course, the glass had to be in my stories. And the old man, he had secret powers. And so in one of my stories, I had him hold up a chunk of glass high to the sun. And he said, "Watch, Lily, watch, pet her." And suddenly, the glass magically became something else. And he held down the goblet to Lily. And she looked at it and looked at it and turned it around. She couldn't believe her eyes. And then the next thing we knew, the old man had this strange colored piece of glass that wasn't in a shape that any of us had ever seen. And so I knew that with my writing I could make anything happen. So I had stories where Lily was exploring and finding new stone faces. And I had other stories where we were both in the old man's house, and he was showing us different objects that he had gotten from all over the world. And we would look at these objects and wonder. And in his house he had a chimney filled with stone faces, faces that could take anybody anywhere. However, my stories were not strong enough to take away where we lived. And where we lived was a place of bleakness, of dreariness. And there was nothing we could do about that. And there was nothing we could do about what happened in our home. And so Lily and my mother and I would watch. And sometimes my father would get mean. And my mother wouldn't know how to handle it. And it was very difficult for all of us. So I knew that I had to start writing even more happier stories. I had to do everything I could to create a different reality. And so my mom would say, Peter, tell me another one of your stories of the old man in the mountains. And so I would let the mountain come into my mind, and I would let my imagination flow, and the stories went onto the page. And so I would sit them down, and I would tell Lily and my mother the stories. And I made the stories even more beautiful. I had the old man sharing with us amazing fruit that we could never get in the market because we didn't have enough money. And especially the fruits that I knew Lily really liked. And so I would make it so that the stories would always have something appearing just like that, just for her. And of course, bananas were always precious. And the old man, he always wanted us to enjoy. And he was always so happy when we did. I even had a story about honey where the old man could magically make honey out of his bare hands, just like he had the glass and the colored glass. And he would tear the honey and he would offer the honey to us. And of course, Lily knew that I didn't like honey. So she knew it was a story especially for her. And the old man and Lily ate the honey as though they had never tasted anything more delicious. And I watched in the story and I told Lily, eat as much as you want. And of course, like in the dream, we went swinging. And in my stories, the old man took us further up the mountain, always to show us something new. Because the newness was what we needed. We needed to know that something new was going to happen. And so we would follow him in the stories, never knowing what would appear. And then I would wake up in the morning and I would imagine the next story. And always Lily would be following him. And he would take her to new places, smiling. And she felt so safe with him because it was important to me that Lily knew that there was safety in the world, that there was love in the world, that there was beauty in the world, waiting for her to notice. And so my stories always had that noticing, had that time when Lily would be able to touch beauty. And in one of my stories, I had the old man showing all these strange artifacts that he had found that had been used in ancient times. And so he showed us how each of the artifacts worked, and we got to hold them, feel their texture, and he explained how they were used, and Lily listened. My mother had said, make sure you make some of the stories have something educational in them. So, of course, I did what she wanted also. But it had to be more than just education. So I had the old man prepare a puppet theater for us. And I had the old man show us a puppet play. And I wrote all the characters in the puppet play. And I had the old man sit us down in front of his rustic puppet theater and visit us with the puppets. Lily was really happy with that story. And her happiness helped me imagine. And so I had the old man tell us other stories and take us into his workshop and give us tea and read us stories from an English book about the wonders of the world, because I wanted Lily to know that the world was out there, just like I knew from the Ore Mountains that there was a world for me someplace. Somehow we could both find that world. And the stories captivated us, and the stories moved us that the old man told us. And even though they were my stories, they still seemed like really they were his. But of course, all stories finish and new ones start. Life moves. And Lily and I became teenagers. We got jobs. We were able to help out our parents to have a better life. And Lily kept studying. She studied so much that she became a professor with a PhD. And she took the Ore Mountains to Switzerland and found her own mountains. And there she taught alpine environmentalism. And our parents, well, we were able to help them move into a new place to live, where they could look out every day from their patio and see the Ore Mountains. And my father started to drink less. And my mom seemed happier. And they both seemed to be able to have a new life, where anything was possible. As for me, I moved to Western Canada. I learned that nowhere else in the world were mountains so welcoming. So I moved to the mountains, and I took the Ore Mountains with me, and they became my new mountains. And there I had the freedom, and I have the freedom every day to walk towards them and keep walking as long as I want, and feel that this is my life now. This is where I belong, where I've always belonged, listening to the sounds of the forest. And better yet, the mountain I live beside has a lake right in front of it, and that lake and that mountain seem to be saying all the time, welcome, you're finally here. Welcome.